Good evening and welcome to the one, the only Hawg Talk podcast. And we are part of Believe and the Buzz Radio Network, where you can hear us on all podcast platforms, as well as the Buzz 2 106.7 in Central Arkansas. So please like, rate, and review our podcast. Leave a 5-star review. I am your host, Porter Hayes of Sports and Culture Arkansas. Alongside me is Jacob Davis from Arkansas Fight, and all live shows are presented by Arkansas Brewing Company in downtown Ozark, Arkansas, as well as Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports, contest, events with first-to-market odds and lines. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So head on over to Bet Online today, or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEA50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first bet deposit. Bet Online, where the game begins. And tonight, going to the Camelot Exteriors Hotline, we are honored to bring in the Baz, David Bazzel from 103.7 The Buzz, Little Rock Touchdown Club. It's been an interesting offseason and to say the least. So we really appreciate your time, along with what you got going on with the show, but and with the offseason. But again, thank you for coming on tonight.
No, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah, crap. It's not even the off season. It's where everybody's exhausted. I mean, we're all just exhausted from the last week. And, such is the world we live in now. And it's crazy times. And you imagine, those of us who cover it, how crazy. You imagine the coaches trying to manage it. For Sam Pittman, I thought he had, he did not look good in his press conference this week. He looked dejected and beaten down. And, part of me wants to text Kyle Parkinson and say, listen, if we're going to do these darn press conferences and that's going to be his body language, turn the darn cameras off. Okay, he just looks defeated and, down in the dumps. If the team had that kind of body language walking out on the field, he'd chew their backside out and get them back in the locker room and tell them to come back out again. But, I know he's discouraged and this and that, and I'm not happy about it either, but he's got to be the leader out there, and he's got to, put his stake in the ground and say, I don't like the way things are going, but we're going to make it. We're, regardless of what people think, we're making progress. Even if you're not, you got to put on that kind of face. But yeah, it's crazy times, and you guys know it in the world of college football.
And I told Jacob, this kind of started after the Liberty game. That first game where he lost a game that he was supposed to win. And just the dejection, you were talking about that after the Missouri game, but it even seemed like I remember doing a press conference where he was talking about the importance of having recruits come on for Coach Deifel and what it does for the softball program. And even in a positive manner, he was dejected. And you could just see a certain sense of, well, I usually come out at the 52 mark. Well, I come out now at the 56 mark. But to be real, it was like that was, if you want to talk about like red flags now at the end of the season, that's a red flag. You can look back at a happy moment. You're like, man, you think you would be, especially as much support as he gives as a program like softball. He just seemed monotone. Like I was waiting on him to say Bueller, but Jacob, you can kind of touch on it, but it was just, that's what really, now looking back, where it was really a tone setter for me on his dejection in the season.
Yeah, that tone setter, I mean, it really started during the end of that South Carolina game, David, into the Missouri State game. And things just kind of, spiraled out throughout the season. It was just kind of it was hard to watch, and you expected them to kind of turn the ship back around. Did you ever experience anything like that before, besides the Chad Morris era, where nobody was ever holding on to the rope at all? I mean, they pretty much gave up after the second game. Have you ever seen any kind of coach in Arkansas's history and during your time covering the team? Have you seen anything like this?
Well, geez, well, as bad as it is this year, boys, it will never be as bad as it was, the 2 years under Chad Morris. That was the worst of the worst. So I think, you go back, you had the gut punch at A&M. I don't know if this team ever recovered the whole season pretty much. Just, to me, that's a game you dominate. You're just dominating. It looked like a top 10 team there in the first half, leading up to that, the KJ fumble and return for the touchdown. And we were on the ropes the entire rest of the game. And it was a miracle we came back at all. And I think, this year you lost a couple of guys, like a Grant Morgan, that was a vocal leader. Nothing against the guys we have now. And I love Bumper and KJ, but you lose Grant Morgan, you lose Burks, who is such a prominent, dominating figure that he didn't have to talk a lot. He was just, his presence was there. So he didn't quite have that leadership, and, they hit some animosity, and, struggles happen. Then you got injuries, and then you got the debacle of the way we handled the whole, quarterback situation, and it's interesting, I think, too, before I forget, I think part of the problem we're seeing now with Arkansas and transfer portal is, most people expect, if you look at A&M, they got multiple 5 stars that are 4 stars that aren't playing, and they're going to get in the portal. We've got guys that, that you're 2 or 3 stars, and they're getting in the portal. And, I think back to some of those times when we had, leads that were okay, and we never would substitute. We had the first team in there through basically the fourth quarter. Never played Hornsby first 3 games. And we talked, on and on and on about how important it was. Greatest, we need to get him on the field. And I got so tired of hearing about during the spring practice. This guy's a great player. We got to get him on the field, because we pull him out, the transfer board, pull him back in, and then we don't play him for 3 games. And so you wonder why, and then you put him in, you have 2, kooky plays that don't work, and it was, he hadn't touched the ball in 3 games, and I just thought that was mismanaged. And I don't know, I like Sam, and I sort of wish Sam, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's disconnected with some of the players, but I need that offensive line coach, Sam Pittman, to be back. I need somebody with fire, and I don't sense that. And maybe you're losing coaches, that all makes a difference. But man, you gotta show that you believe in this team and you believe in your players. Run their butt off. If they're not playing, that's fine. And I know it's difficult to do that, but it just I don't feel that confidence. And you mentioned the Liberty game. That was another one where that was an intimidating butt kicking that we had, and that is not a Sam Pittman team. And I sort of felt that this was a team that did not have that fight in them. That I kept saying, I want to see a street fight. Get in there, get a 15-yard penalty, push somebody, don't get thrown out, but push somebody back or talk some trash. I just didn't see that grit that we had last year, and again, some of that's leadership. So all those things, put together, guys, it just sort of adds up to. And then also you got the money issue now with transfer portal and all that. It really the program sort of feels like it's on the ropes a little bit with the losses of coaches, losses of players, commitments. And if that's your perception, sometimes perception is not reality. But in this day and age, perception is important.
Do you think the 9-win season last year was a curse? Do you think that really, when we look at the program as a whole and how the fans' perception, do you think him coming in, going 3-7, and then winning 9 games when they haven't built a depth? They haven't built the depth that they had on defense, on offense, and you're talking about Malik, and the biggest thing with me is why practice him and then pull him at the right there at the game. But do you think that really I've told so many people, if you have that underdog mentality and you're climbing to the top, you have something to prove. Well, then when you get to the top, you have nothing to prove. That's much harder to maintain than it is to climb to the top. Do you think that 9-win season last year was a curse?
Well, I mean, you certainly, did that change Sam Pittman and, Jimmy Sexton now as the agent and wasn't about money before, why you make the move and all that. I don't know if it's a curse. I mean, that's what you want to have happen. That was, I know, Houston Nutt, who we have on the show quite a bit, he just said, when you do that, when you win 9 games, boy, you've raised the expectations. But my goodness, that's what you want. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Did it come too fast? I don't know. Definitely the program got a benefit out of the COVID year by having so many of these guys stay around, and that certainly helped. But that's what you and listen, to be fair, you have 4 games this year, right? 4 games that you lose by 3 points or less. 3 of those were 2 points. So you win those 3 or 4 of those close games. Last year you won those. You didn't this year. That's the difference between 6 and 8 or 9. So it wasn't like they didn't have chances. Again, A&M, again, finding a way to win. You have injuries to KJ in the Mississippi State game and LSU game. And it wasn't like they're that far away, to be honest with you. But you just tell that just this team didn't quite have that it factor to win those close games.
Yeah. And you think about it, they were close this year. And I don't like to go back because I remember hearing during the Brett Bielema tenure, oh, we're close. We're close.
Yeah.
And you hear it over and over and over again. But, I mean, they really were. I mean, I saw a fight in that Ole Miss game where they went after KJ. After KJ had that punch swung at him, I thought, man, this team's got the fight. This is a swagger.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you like to see those kind of things. But,
Right.
man, they lost their swagger during that Texas A&M game right before halftime. And they just never were able to regain it. Like you said, like, this team, if they had ended up finding a way to beat Texas A&M, it's a whole completely different season.
Sure. You
And it kind of, and that's what happens when you go 6-6. You want to see changes. The fan base is ready for a change. They were exhausted with seeing the same thing over and over and over again. So you see the change with the new tight ends coach, with Dal Loggins leaving. You bring in Matt Turner from Stanford, who's coached some pretty dadgum good tight ends. Yeah, he's put a lot of guys in the league. And then you bring in a new defensive coordinator who's been with Gus and been with Chizik throughout his career. What do you think about those 2 hires, David? Do you think I think Sam probably brought in 2 of the best hires he could have done?
Well, the tight ends coach for sure. Obviously, Stanford's done a good job of producing great tight ends, and I think he's been there. He was there 10 years. So, guy can coach some tight ends. But if you look at what you lose, we'll see the jury's out, because if Loggins ends up taking, he's already got Knox, which so be it. But I get it. Sam Pittman didn't recruit Knox. It was Justin Stepp, who's at USC now. It's South Carolina now. But if you end up losing those tight ends, we'll see. That turned out boy, that was a big blow to lose him. And I'll be honest with you guys. Talk about perception. And I guess it's not been made official, right? The coordinator for Travis Williams. It's unofficial, right? But it hadn't been made official, correct?
No, it's not been made official, not yet. Not by the U of A.
Let me do the count. Jim Leonard was the first name mentioned. Oh, we'd love to get him. Georgia Tech.
Jeff Collins.
Trey Scott, Georgia defensive line coach. Baylor's Ron Roberts. Tulane's Chris Hampton. And then now Travis Williams. That's 6.
Yeah.
6. So, again, have no idea if Travis Williams was the first guy we go after. But it doesn't have a lot of experience. I went to Auburn. Basically he's an Auburn man, and he's a Gus Malzahn man. And I think he's only had 1 year or 2 years of being a coordinator. Doesn't mean he can't be a great coach, but boy, and not that on paper is the most important thing, but if you compare to some of the other guys we were looking at, boy, that's. But I'll tell you this though. This is what I said on the show this week. I don't care who he is. I don't care what his name is. I don't care where he's from. Get us out of the 3 digits in defense. And the 3 digits is when you're ranked 100 or more, you're one of the worst in America. And for 2 years in a row, we've been over 100 in total defense, scoring defense, everything. And so I don't care who it is. I don't care. I'm not going to say, oh, this is a bad hire. We can do better. And I like Barry Odom, but didn't get the job done defensively. If you look at the figures now, the year before we did, but we can be a lot better than where we were.
And the point I was going to make is you being a former player, you being vetted into this university. So it speaks true to you. You take that pride in what the university does. And we're talking about, what Arkansas has done and the expectations. And you talk about the Chad Morris years. Well, that second year at Chad Morris, everybody done forgot about, they knew he wasn't a good coach. So when you have this promise of that's what I was meaning with the curse of the 9-win season, is you have this promise of, okay, this guy's got us in the right direction. We're moving forward. We have this 9-win season, and then this year happens. Does that deflate you more because you've seen the promise?
Sure. You bet. There's no question about it. Yeah, you raise those expectations. There's no question that the heat is more intense because you feel like fans are going, wait a minute, I thought we were going the right direction. The 3 conference wins the first year, New Year's Day Bowl, and also, man. And I'll tell you, boys, there's a good chance, that Kansas could beat us. And they're excited about being in Memphis. We're not, which is understandable. But, then you wind up 6-7. So there's no question that the heat is stronger when the expectations are higher and you don't achieve.
So looking at next year, would you say that this would be the most important year underneath Sam Pittman? Because let's be honest, you can't have another 6-win season or that seat's going to get hot. What do you think? And you see the dejection in his face and how I know I'm being dramatic about it in a sense, but I can't help but think about how he was sounding and putting the picture of Hunter Yurachek's face with that Arkansas jacket and his just looking so dejected when I can't help but put those two things together. So going into next year, how important do you think that is for him next year?
Oh, it's huge. Are you kidding me? It's interesting how, one minute, you could run for governor here. And I'm telling you, he knows. He's no dummy. He's been around. You only win 6 games next year or 7 games, and you're getting paid $4 or $5 million. Now, this is a production business. You're getting paid, 7 digits. You expect to win. Yeah, if you remember, guys, Bielema was 8-5, and momentum was headed his direction. The program was headed back. He loses Sam Pittman, comes back that next year, has a 20-point lead at Missouri, loses that game. Goes to the Charlotte Bowl, whatever that's called, and
Virginia Tech.
Yeah, Virginia Tech 20-point lead, and all of a sudden it's over. The next year it's all apart. He's gone. So this thing is a fragile deal. It can unravel very easy, but at the same time, getting KJ back was a big help. And I'm sure they had to pay a bunch of money to get him to stay. That's me. That's my guess.
That's a world we live in these days.
Based on what we're hearing, the way this thing works. And but yeah, it's very fragile. If he comes out and they stumble next year, you betcha it's going to be, and he knows it. I'm not telling you anything. And I think most everybody wants him to succeed, but it's crazy times out there, and it's very challenging, and momentum is important, and he can rally, but I'll tell you, it's going to be tough. If you go to Memphis and lose this ball game, in a few weeks, and you're 6-7, it's tough.
Yeah, and you definitely don't have momentum going on your side there, and especially with the dejection that they have going through the program right now. And I don't like really to say it's dejection. I think it's more of you've been hitting the gut over and over and over again, and you're losing. Just the other day, we lost Isaiah Nichols, a guy that's been in the Arkansas locker room, a guy that I didn't expect to transfer. I thought he might be back for next season. That was a surprise. You're basically, you remember that game where we played LSU in Fayetteville back in 2020 or in the COVID year. This is about the depth chart that you're going to have when you play Kansas. And I like what you said, though, David. Like they're not excited to be there. In 2015, they were excited to be there.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a good thing and a bad thing, because you're not settling. And I guess that's the one good takeaway we can take away from it. You're not settling. Okay, that bowl game is not okay. We know where we want to be.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, I want to bring up Jalen Catalon, the guy who we thought would go pro, decided to enter the transfer portal. That's more alarming to me than anything. The guy that was true to this university.
Yeah.
Not only did he say, no, I'm not coming back to Arkansas, I'm going to go try to do better and declare for the NFL draft. He decides to go to the transfer portal. And we seen what kind of impact that had on the defense from the get-go of this season. And for him to say that I wouldn't say the term's giving up on the team, but in a sense, it's like he's giving up on this team and he's going to try to go elsewhere. That's what's alarming for me heading into next year when it comes to this defense and what kind of locker room we expect next year.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You lose Catalon and Slusher. Then you lose both your linebackers, Bumper and Sanders. You lose Nichols right now. So you got a different looking defense than you started the season for this last game. And then on offense, Stromberg at center, Trey Knox at tight end, almost all the receivers. It reminds me of what happened to Penn State last year. Against them. People may not remember, but that was not the Penn State team that played throughout the year. And so, of course, you got young guys who get a chance to step up, but it's not going to be easy to win that game where you've got that much talent missing. And then I think it's fair to come back and ask, Catalon, that's a strange move. Slusher, we've heard the story there, but Nichols, that's sort of a interesting one. Knox, we sort of understand. We know the deal with Sanders and Bumper. The receiver.
Odom, like Odom really got me. Like, I understand you want to be a head coach, but it's like UNLV. Like that's what got me. It's like UNLV. It's like, and that was, and I guess when I'm making this argument is, if that wouldn't have been the first person that Pittman would have called, maybe it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. But that was the first, like, they made a big production about that. Like when they had him on the SEC network, when they hired Sam Pittman, I've already got Barry Odom on the line. He's coming down from Missouri, and then he bounces on you for UNLV. That's a head scratcher for me.
Well, I'll tell you, you have a certain amount of a shelf life, and ask Houston Nutt, ask Phil Fulmer, those guys who want to get back into coaching, when they've been out a few years, and every year that passes, you're not a head coach. It gets very difficult, and then you throw in the other part. Let's see what he's done. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look. And I think if I got another year, if I have another year like I've had the last 2 years, if you look at the numbers, nobody's going to hire me. So I think he saw an opportunity, and then man, he hires Bobby Petrino. Are you kidding me? To be but I think that's of course again that's a blow to Sam too, because you got a guy who's been recruiting all year, and so that's a tough one there too. And then you bring in somebody that most people don't know about, which I don't think is the most important thing, but recruiting is the other part of this thing. It's just, between the money that you're having to pay, transfer portal, and maybe a high school guy coming in or whatever. It's tricky territory, and to keep the, commitments you have now,
Yeah. The top end of the class, and I've talked to a couple of the commits that are on that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think you're going to be able to retain most of them. Right. But you look at the offensive side of the ball, how much of an impact was Dow Loggins in the recruiting part of this thing? Because you've already lost Jaden Ham, who was committed out of Kansas. Right. I lost him this morning. You lost Steven Johnson, a defensive tackle, who he wasn't really highly rated according to 247 Sports, but he was a monster of a man. You can't teach size. Yeah. I mean, Cam Ball was a 3-star guy. He's got a high motor, but you can't teach size, and that's what you hate to lose. But yeah, on the offensive side of the ball, you lose Dow Loggins as a recruiter. I think that impacts this thing. And I mean, I think you got a good hire out of that with Matt Turner, like we said earlier. So if you look at it two ways. You can look at it as your cup half full and your cup half empty. You can either be pissed off about the way things are going, or you can look at it and say, I like the way that Sam's hired his assistant coaches. And maybe if you look at it with it half full, things you have the potential to be better. And I think Arkansas does have the potential to be better next season with the return of some players. And then you still have a whole portal season.
Well, here's the deal too. Haas, the kid, that somebody you don't want to lose.
No.
You lose him. But listen, I want these kids, I don't know about you guys, but for me, most of the time when you go to a school, the head coach is a key reason.
Right.
So, I don't care who leaves. In my mind, Sam Pittman, that's his reputation, great recruiter. I don't care who your position coach is that leaves. I want that connection to be so strong with the head coach. It doesn't matter. Coach, I'm coming because I believe in you. I believe in what your vision is for the program. I hate to lose Coach Loggins, but man, I'm a Razorback. So if that's not the case, then Sam's got to turn up the effort on his part in selling his vision and connecting with those kids instead of relying on the position coach to do that. I'm sure that's what his goal is, but obviously, that may not be, may not be done. But think about this, guys, too. Not only does he have to do that, now he's got this money issue, which, I've talked to several donors in the last week. The collective has been calling and say, I need 100,000. No joke. Need 100,000. Can you give us 50,000? So you got double dipping going on because you got the collective calling and wanting money. You got the U of A calling and wanting money. And then all of a sudden you find out that, we may have paid a certain, player $300,000 this year for marginal production, and he's in the portal. It's a stupid business model when we're just cutting these big old checks like these guys are NFL players and they produce nothing on the field and then they leave the next year. That's why it's a goofy, mixed up, out of whack system that these coaches know they've got to change. They can't come out publicly and say, what Sam Pitt said the other day was first I've ever heard somebody say something about where this is headed. He's right. But they've got to go behind closed doors and say, this is not working. Let's figure out something we can do to try to stop this. And I don't know if there's an answer or not, but the way it is now, they know this is not a sustainable model. It's too much money. And whoever, again, who is deciding how much they need to pay KJ Jefferson? And are they worth that much money? I mean, really, 50,000, 20,000. Are you at 6 digits, 6 figures, $200,000 or $300,000 for an average receiver that you really don't even, you have all this hype, you come in and you don't produce? It's like, it's just bad business. It's a stupid business model if that's what we've become.
Well, and that's the thing. We're talking about it as a stupid business model, but they're stupid enough to pay that.
Yeah, sure.
You're giving, and this is what, and we'll end it with this. You're giving social media to everybody. Now you're giving these donors and these money guys, hey, you could be a part of the program. You could pay these players to come. Oh, I want to pay $250,000 to this player. I got him to come to Arkansas.
Right.
Or I got him to come. And all it is an ego. And I can't cuss because this is going on the buzz. But, you sit there and say, I gave him this amount of money. He's coming to Arkansas. It's ego. So do you but what point do we hate the player? Because it's the fact that if they're willing to give me this money, hey, I'm taking that money.
No, it's not the player's fault.
Yeah, exactly.
And Arkansas is not the only one doing it. Everybody's doing this.
Everybody.
And you heard him say A&M's got, he didn't say it, but A&M's got more money than Arkansas, Alabama. We do have money. But now I finally heard what I thought was probably happening was this collective now has started reaching out to donors already giving to them. And now we've got 2 streams of revenue they need. One is paying the players and the other is supporting the athletic department. So I think every athletic department in America is going to be challenged. Some will have more money than others. I think the whole thing is not a good model. I'm not saying I'm against players getting paid. This won't work. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this off season as these guys, and this all started, guys. Let me tell you what this started. Because TV has so much, they're printing money for these universities, and the coaches were making $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, $5 million every year, $6 million, $8 million, $10 million. And of course, you coaches are making $10 million. They're making double what NFL coaches because you don't have to pay anybody else. And you know what you do? You say, you know what, guys, we're keeping all that money here at the college, but you players, you go out and you get all you want to now. And it's just created oh my gosh, a crazy time. It'll be interesting. I still love the college football game. I still love the game of college football. I think it's one of the greatest games around. I just hate to see all this happening, and I feel bad for the coaches having to figure out a way to get it done. Hopefully Arkansas, regardless. I want Arkansas to win regardless, though. If we got to pay, it's like everybody else, I want us to win too. So,
and I told Jacob, the moment that the NCAA, I blame this only in the NCAA. We want to talk about the deep-rooted part of this. The second that the NCAA made this a business, the players should be able to be paid because you are making this a business. Hey, let's let these players pay for free, but we're going to give each school $60 million to be on TV. We're going to put your jersey and I guess what really, I'm an old head like you are. I remember the Fab Five and Jalen Rose and Chris Webber when they done their Fab Five show on 30 for 30. And he was walking by a window and he was like, why is my jersey in this window for $70? This is in the 90s.
yeah.
And he was like, why is my jersey in this window for $70 and I get nothing? I'm eating ramen noodles. And I know
Fair point.
you can't, you can't take it with a grain of salt, but still, you see the point. And that was in the 90s. So if they're making it a business now and saying we're giving each school, Vanderbilt, $60 million just because they're they're part of the SEC, you see why the players want it. And I see the point. But yet you made a great point about the coaches. And I've told Jacob, look at Jimbo Fisher. Do you think he made that $70 million contract at Texas A&M, or did Jameis Winston give him that contract? Look at Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Did he get that contract, or did Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence give him that contract? But it's all a domino effect, and how do we control it? And the only thing that I can compare it to is the land rush back in the old days in Oklahoma. Everybody's out to get their money in the NIL. Let's open this free market, and now we're like, oh, crap, what do we do with it?
Right.
Yeah. Well, David, if you don't have anything else left tonight, man, we do appreciate you coming on. If you want to promote your show, Morning Mayhem, Monday through Fridays, and Little Rock Touchdown Club, you go right ahead, brother.
Well, listen, guys, people sick of me promoting all the stuff I do. I'm overexposed, and it's been a great year for both of those. Morning Mayhem, we lost Tommy Smith and added Justin Moore. Justin Moore's been a great addition to our morning show, and obviously he's had 11 number ones. But man, he knows his sports. He's passionate, funny. He's done a great job along with Roger and RJ, and we've had great ratings, and so really grateful for that. Of course, Touchdown Club just took it to another level. Just national, millions of hits nationally with a Gruden visit, and then Orgeron, 4 million views from what he said, and Paul Feinbaum called it the best touchdown club in America. So we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish with all of our team, volunteers. Nobody makes money off this, and all of our great sponsors. It's been now, of course, the challenge, talk about pressure. It's almost like I had a 9-4 season. Last year I had Eli Manning and Vern Lundquist and Terry Bradshaw. And I said, I'll never be able to top that. And then this year, it's just been, national news every few weeks. It's like, I don't know how I'm going to top this next year. It's been great. Of course, it's really crazy. It's 7 days a week, going to all the games, and then Touchdown Club on Monday, and then doing the show. But I'm blessed, boys. I think we're all blessed to get to talk about sports and talk about life and entertain folks and still root on the Razorbacks. So life's good. I appreciate you guys having me on, and listen, glad to have you guys on Buzz too. We're gonna get you guys on more often and find out what you guys are talking about. Give you guys some love and promotion too.
Well, and the biggest thing, man, you've lived it. You played for the Razorbacks. You've done radio. You're doing more beyond just football, and you're doing the Little Rock Touchdown Club. So when we talk about, like, we always give Drew Morgan, his praise about being the ultimate Razorback of being for Arkansas. We got to put you in that that category, because no bull crap, because
I'm the old guy. Listen, I'm the old.
You're the old, but yet
Listen, can you believe the Broyles Award is 27 years old?
That's crazy.
7 years old. Yeah, the boot, all that stuff. Tusk, 27 years. And so, I came from Panama City, Florida. This state's been so good to me. I'm so proud to be a part of it. And I banged the drum of Arkansas wherever I go nationally, and everybody's been good. And I'm blessed. I'm just blessed to do what we do.
Let's know this. How cool is it that you designed a rivalry trophy. Like you think about you being a competitor and playing for Arkansas. How cool is it just saying, I got to design a rivalry trophy?
Yeah, that was cool. Obviously, I did not do I was asked to do the Missouri Arkansas game, and a lot of fans hate that. But I did design that trophy because I was asked to do it. But the boot was something I came up with because Coach Broyles had asked me, to do that, and that's been a fun series over the years. And they've got a little bit of an advantage over us, and but it's been fun. It's been fun to watch that be a thread. What will really be cool, guys, is when that trophy game is 50 years old, and you think of we're at 27 years now. Been a lot of great games both ways, and I know for LSU winning a national championship is more important. Same thing for us, but it's cool that there's something that the guys play for, and the players enjoy winning that. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to see that thing age over time, almost 3 decades.
Well, David, again, man, an honor for having you to come on. Yeah, we'll definitely chop it up. We'll come on 103.7 The Buzz. We'll bring you and your guys on our show. We'll do as much as we can to cross promote this. But again, thank you for your time coming on, and we'll chop it up again in the future.
Sounds good. Porter, Jacob, thanks, guys. Appreciate it so much. Go Hogs.
Thank you, sir.
David. Thanks, man.
Well, that was David Baz, the Baz. Jacob, man, it's just one of the things that you talk about true Razorbacks, and he's up there, and what I mean by that, I was not, sugarcoating anything. When you play for the Razorbacks and then when you leave the Razorbacks and you still want to do as much as you can for the University of Arkansas. I mean, making the battle line, doing the Little Rock touchdown clubbing, doing 103.7 The Buzz, staying true, kind of like what Matt Jones is, and coming back and being a part of ESPN Arkansas.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
That's what it is to be a Razorback, and to keep giving back to the fans and the community that gave to you. And he's an ambassador. I mean, there's no lie. And I don't know, other than Frank Broyles, what he did for the University of Arkansas and as an athletic director. I mean, Baz has got to be up there with one of them. You're talking about people.
He's one of the most recognizable guys.
Well, and underrated. I don't think people give him enough credit on what he has exactly done for the University of Arkansas. And so it was really good to have him come on, and we'll definitely be doing some more cross promoting with the 103.7 again, a year in. I can't believe we've been a part of their network for a year now. So it's just, I'm looking forward to 2023 when we, do some cross promoting with him. But we're going to hit a commercial break. After the break, we're going to talk some football, basketball, and wrap this thing up for the new year.
Yes, sir.
Do you need those pesky stumps ground before the winter? Your pasture brush hogged, or need your driveway bladed? Here at Grind It Right Outdoor Services, we offer more than just stump grinding. We have recently expanded our business to include tractor work as well. So along with stump grinding, we offer bush hogging, land clearing, grading driveways, placing, and even spreading gravel. We are locally owned and operated, so call Danny today for a free quote at 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641. Again, that is 205-377-2662 or 479-530-1641.
McCoy Tiger Drug Store of Sheridan, Arkansas has been the top pharmacy in all of South Central Arkansas since 1895. They were also the 2020 Good Neighbor Pharmacy of the Year. They not only fix you up with your prescription with timely and friendly service, but also an elite gift shop. All your OTC needs, baby and wedding registries, tuxedo rentals, and much more. They're located at 821 North Rock Street in Sheridan. Give them a call today at 870-942-5121.
Shelby Taylor Trucking serves all your timberland needs in South Central Arkansas. With over 50 years in the industry, Shelby Taylor Trucking has established themselves as trustworthy leaders in the industry. From planting to harvesting to hauling your timber, Shelby Taylor Trucking is ready to serve you. Follow them on all social media platforms at Shelby Taylor Trucking. Learn more by visiting their website at staylortrucking.com. That's staylortrucking.com.
Camelot Exteriors specializes in identifying hail, wind, and other storm damage, as well as residential and commercial roof installations and re-roofing. We use only the highest quality materials from certified suppliers while putting a lifetime labor warranty on all of our roofs. Our mission is to provide our customers with the highest quality roofing project customized to fit each one of their needs and to provide exceptional service through the entire process. Camelot Exteriors is based in Norman, Oklahoma, but we proudly currently serve 9 other states as a premier nationwide roofing company. So call us today at 833-799-7663 for your free estimate. Camelot Exteriors, your storm damage restoration experts. And welcome back to the Hawg Talk podcast. And we want to give a special shout out to the Arkansas Brewing Company, who is our sponsor for all live shows. They are at 201 South First Street in Ozark, Arkansas. So anytime you're in the River Valley, you want a place to get a nice drink or something bite to eat. They're always having some lunch specials, Friday night specials, always having some bands going on. So they are having a New Year's Eve party, Christmas party. So head on over to 201 South First Street in Ozark, Arkansas. Call them at 479-667-2739. Chris and Destiny Brockett will definitely get you hooked up. But Jacob, man, what an amazing conversation with the Baz. Kept it real. That's what we want. That I think that's where the direction. It's crazy, man, how our show has evolved, where we see where the things are going with our podcast and the show and the guest, and especially with the new era of what we've seen with Coach Pittman. We've seen the promise, and it's almost like, all right, honeymoon season's over. What are you going to show us you can do?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I love Sam, and really, I think Sam is just a product of the 9-4 success that he had 2 years ago, and it stinks. Like, I don't like seeing the dejection on his face, because he's trying, and I know that he wants what's best for Arkansas, and that's the hard thing, seeing that struggle. But how does he come out of this? You got 2 ways you can come out of this, Porter. And it's either you're going to respond to the adversity in a way that you don't want to have this taste in your mouth again, this taste of losing, this taste of dejection that you continue to have every single day, the taste of lack of effort that you had continuously week after week after week. I want to see how he responds this year. I want to see him sign this class, get the players that he wants out of the portal that he thinks will be a good fit into his system on either side of the ball. I want to see what the assistant coaches and the defensive coordinator can do, the new ones that come along. I want to see progress, and I want to see that fire in his belly. Because as an O-line coach and you're moving your way up, like David said, you had to have a fire in your belly. You are the grittiest person, the grittiest coach on the staff at the offensive line position. I want to see that Sam Pittman that we saw when he started at Arkansas. I want to see him have the pride. I don't want to see him dejected. Like, I know he's keeping it real. I know that he didn't have things go his way. But you have to stay confident in what you have going. You have to remain confident. If you go into your job on a daily basis and you're just going through the motions, things aren't going to work out for you in the end, and you're not probably going to stay there very long. But you have to be sick of the feeling that you've had, and you got to set your eyes forward and say, I don't want to feel that again. It's over, and this is my time.
It's exactly what I told David. When he come to Arkansas, he had never been a head coach.
No,
he had never been a DC. So he come into Arkansas with something to prove. And what we're talking about, when you have something to prove, you're fighting, you're clawing, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that point. Well, what happens when you get to that point?
Right.
He got to that point last year. And it's harder to prove yourself when you've gotten to that point, opposed to trying to get to that point. And I don't know, me being at where I'm at 40, I've come a long ways where I'm as a person and a husband and a father and doing this show, and you have too. You start to really hold on to those things, and that's something that I've really held on to. Of now we've gotten to a certain point. How do we get better?
Yeah,
and I think that's what makes you more of a man than anything. What makes you more of a coach? What makes you more of a person? What makes you more of anything you do in your field or where you're at in your life. He's got to that point, and now he's slipped. Now, it'd be so easy to throw the book at him or say all that's lost or say, well, he's never going to recover. I mean, that'd be the easy thing to do. Well, we thought he was going to be this. He didn't do it. Well, he's never been this. He's always leaned on Kendall Browse. He's always leaned on Barry Odom. Well, now Barry Odom's gone. He had a 6-6 season. Well, but that's the way the fans are programmed because of what they've been through. And I sympathize for the fans. And I told you last week, I'm on the fan side of this. I'm on your side of this. I'm not a true Arkansas Razorback fan. I love the Hogs, root for the Hogs, but I'm not a diehard fan. You know where my allegiance rises and lays, but so I see it from a different lens than you see it. I see it from a different lens than everybody else sees it. And when I get pissed off about it, if that tells you anything about where I stand and I'm pissed off about it, because the fans, I've gotten to know this fan base. I've gotten to know just how loyal they are, and they deserve better. And that's why we are so hard on someone like Sam Pittman, because he wanted promise. He showed promise. He showed this. We've seen what he could be. It's like I've said multiple times, when you have kids and they're on the AB honor roll, they're all A's, they're AB honor roll, and then they bring home D's, you're going to be disappointed because you know what they could be.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they've been aided by super seniors or this and that. It's still your responsibility to put that product on the field. You're still the head of that program. So now you've faced adversity. You got beat by Liberty. And then you turn around and you beat Ole Miss. Then you turn around and lay an egg against LSU and Missouri. And Missouri was the head scratcher of a team that you shouldn't even gotten beat by. This is where you show the true loyalty you have to this program and this fan base, that the fan base has loyalty to you.
Yep.
And I know I'm being harsh about it. I know that I'm being rash about it. And this might fall on some people and be like, well, you're being too hard on it. But I'm being real of the fact of you got your $5 million after 1 year of winning and getting 9 wins. Are you going to give that back because you're at 6 wins? Or are you going to say, well, I didn't do that good. Here's my $3 million back? No. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to ride off in the sunset of your lake house in Lake Hamilton and be like, ha, you're a churched up John L. Smith? Or are you going to hire a good tight ends coach, a good DC, and you're going to turn this program around? Because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, this is being very, very brash, but you're at the point of being the greatest coach to ever coach at the University of Arkansas, turning this program around, making them to where they could be, or you're a churched up John L. Smith. And I'm sorry if that pisses people off, but from an outsider's perspective, seeing this program and constantly seeing the promise and letdown, that's where I'm at with this program. Because you look at Sam Pittman, and he said this is the last place he'll ever coach. And when he's done here, he's going to ride off in the sunset at Lake Hamilton or Lake Washita or Hot Springs. So is he going to dupe you and take your money and go right off in the sunset with another 6-6 year or 6-7 year? Be like, I've got $20 million in my pocket and I'm going to live the rest of my life good. Or is he going to really truly tell you he's about this program, about this state, proud damn state, and turn this thing around? What is he going to do? Because this is a very important year, and I challenge it. What's he going to do with this football program?
And it's a very important year. I think about on the basketball side of things with Mike Anderson when he was the coach. And we've seen a lot of similarities between the two the two coaches. Whether I know it's two different sports and all, but I remember the year that Bobby Portis and Michael Qualls was together, and they went and they lost to North Carolina in the second round by 9. And then they came back the next year. Okay, there's so much promise. Then you go 16-16. And you're like, that's not the season we wanted to have. And then Mike Anderson's squad, they were hungry. They loaded up with some good players with Daryl Macon and Jalen Barford. And you had Moses Kingsley return. You had Dusty Hanna's return. And you had a good nucleus of players. And they almost went and knocked off the eventual national champion. There was hunger in that team that they didn't want to be a 500 team like they were the last year, and they turned it around and were that close within 2 possessions of beating the eventual national champions. I'm not saying Arkansas is going to do that next year, but I want to see the hunger and the fire from Sam Pittman return. I want to see the Razorbacks, the KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, and I want to see the defense respond from a horrendous, terrible year last season. I want to see a return of not being complacent with what you are. 9-4 is not your ceiling. I want to see Sam Pittman hungry for more. Because 9-4, 9-4 is great. It's great compared to where we have been. But you can't put that as your benchmark and say, this is the best we're going to do. You've got to stay hungry.
Well, that's why I asked Bass if that was a curse. Because, you got 9-4 as second year, but was that a curse? Because we're looking at 9-4, but we're not looking at they had super seniors and all the stuff that fell in their place. Everything that fell in place last year screwed them this year.
Yeah.
Look at the Texas A&M game. The field goal that fell their way. The 2-point conversion against Liberty did not go their way. All the things that went their way last year didn't go the way this year. So it's almost like we're talking about the same season, but the outcomes were both sides of the spectrum. But still yet, you wanted the praise when he come at 9-4, but now he's 6-6, and possibly I don't know. I don't have, and I've not been right every game this year that I've predicted. So hopefully, maybe me saying they don't have a chance against Kansas will prove me wrong. Whatever. And they're just losing so much, but it's just the fact that a 6-7 year. What does that say about the program? But I don't really. This is what I will say. I'm not taking too much weight in this game, win or lose, going into next year. Because we've seen, look at Brett Bielema going in and beating Texas, and they gave him an extension. What did that get Arkansas? So does this game really matter when it comes to winning or losing this game? Does it matter? Does it really matter if you win the game? Yes. How much false hope does that give you going into next season if they win this game against Kansas? Or how much false hope does that give you if they lose this game against Kansas? Really looking at your side of it.
Yeah.
You win or lose this game. Does it really matter? Because you don't know, 1, who your DC is going to be. 2, you don't know who you're going to get in the transfer portal. Yeah, you know who you're losing, but you don't know what type of team you're going to get. So does this game in the grand scheme of how you're looking next year really matter? To me, 0%. Other than the fans' perception of, we got beat by Kansas, or, we didn't finish 6-7. That's all that it matters to me when I look at it.
I think you're salvaging a winning season. That's the only thing I can think of is we don't want to have a losing record. That's 2 losing records in 3 seasons under Sam Pittman. That's the only thing that I can think of. You've got guys in there that are wanting to fight, that are wanting to battle, and you know it. And maybe there was some bad apples in the bunch. Maybe you got rid of them.
Much with the transfer portal. That's right. What I want to really and look. I've been hard, I've been brash, I've been completely open and honest. But I want to give grace where grace is due. Is you can't take this game and say because you lost this game that means you're going to be crap next year because of the transfer portal and people opting out. You cannot judge. This is a glorified. I said this on another show. This is the glorified practice because of the transfer portal and the NFL draft. That's all it is. And a fan, yes, I know you don't want to lose, but if you really take your fan hat off and you look at this game, you cannot look at this game win or lose and be like, well, this is going to be how we end up next year. You can't.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will show like, okay, we're going to be okay because you're seeing a lot of guys that you haven't seen play before. I mean, you've got a guy you're going to end up having to find another linebacker. You're going to have to find a rotation of linebackers there because you lose Sanders, you lose Poole, and you obviously have Chris Paul, who's a freshman All-American, but then you got Jordan Crook as a linebacker. Maybe he comes up as a freshman and shows promise going into next season. It's a chance to see basically what you have coming back next year. I mean, I think offensively, maybe you can control the game a little bit offensively. That's what you're going to have to do because Jaden Daniels on the other side for Kansas, he's a heck of a quarterback, and you don't want him to burn you because he can run and he can pass too. He's an adequate passer. I think he's over 62% passing this season. So he's missed some time. I think he's a catalyst of that 5-0 start and then got hurt in the 6th game and missed, I think, 3 or 4 of the next few games. And so Kansas is going to be out to prove some things too. They want to finish with a winning record and they have pride because this is the first bowl game Kansas has been in since 2012. So you've got two ends of the spectrum here, and you're right. But I want to see it from a fan's perspective. I want to see them salvage a winning season. But I do not think we need to take too much from this game, win or loss, because you don't know. You do not know what you're going to be playing with come April and March with spring practice. It could be a whole different style, or not style, but a whole different roster moving forward.
And Chuck says 7-6 looks a lot better to recruits than 6-7, not but shows. But my point is,
yeah,
say they go 7-6. All right, good thing. That's cool. But you look at what they're losing and you look at their schedule next year. But they go 6-7, and Sam Pittman just fires it in the transfer portal. He brings in a kick-ass defensive coordinator, and they prove people wrong.
Yeah.
If sides were even, if they were bringing in their squad and Kansas was bringing in their squad full strength, yes, 7-6 is a lot better than 6-6 or 6-7. But you can't sit there and gauge it because you're losing half your daggum team.
Yeah.
You can't hold that. And I'm not making excuses. I'm not saying that Arkansas is going to lose against Kansas. We don't know how this is going to go because they're losing people too. But you can't sit there and judge them. Well, they got beat by Kansas. They suck. Well, no, they lost to Kansas because they lost half their daggum team.
Yeah.
You can't, if you're going to give them the part of showing them grace for going 9-4 because of the schedule and games going the right way, you cannot sit there and hold them accountable. We'll look at Penn State. Penn State last year, this is the exact same situation. Half the team was lost. Arkansas beat them. Oh my gosh, we beat Penn State. We beat a prestigious program. We're headed the right direction.
Penn State.
Huh?
It was a watered down Penn State team.
It was a wish version of Penn State. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And now we're on the other side of that. Yep. Now we've lost our whole team. Kansas can be like, well, we're going to be the SEC team. That shows a lot of weight, no matter who you are.
Yep.
And Matt or Hart brings up, what if Sam Pittman goes 6-6 again? If Sam Pittman goes 6-6 again, his seat's going to start getting warm.
Yeah.
I won't say it's getting hot. It's going to start getting warm. I'm not one to sit there and throw him to the wayside because he goes 6 because you're losing a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to have to bring in somebody, and I know how much it takes. You're losing Dow Loggins, and I'm telling you right now, I not just because I went on a show in South Carolina and told him how much he meant to Arkansas. I'm telling you, losing Dow Loggins is going to kick us in the ass. I know we brought in another good tight ends coach, but the recruiting aspect of what Dow was and what he was holding together at the University of Arkansas, that's going to come back. That's going to set us back a year or two. So if Arkansas goes 6-6 next year, it's tough to say, because I don't think it's going to be time to get the seat hot, but it's going to start getting warm.
Yeah.
Because I don't think his seat's warm yet. Do you? Do you think Sam Pittman's warm?
I think it's getting a little. It's cooled off a lot.
I think the honeymoon
it's a lot less. It's a lot less cooler than it was last season and midway through this year.
Let me put it this way: the plastic's off the couch. The plastic's off the couch.
Yeah.
The newness is the honeymoon's over. But I'm not going to sit here and say what I've said, because I'm a big component of I want to see consistency. And I've not ever been one of them people that, well, just because what you do in 1 year, I'm going to hold you accountable for. I've never been. Today's society is what you do in 1 game or 1 year, and look what people's got contracts after 1 year of doing this, or these big time players that have done so much success after 1 year. Do that 3 years in a row, and then you can get the big time money.
I want to see Sam, if he goes 6-6 next year, I don't think it's out of the realm of him doing it. I mean, honestly, I think if you go 6-6 and then you continually climb and you get 7-8 wins, okay, like things are starting to get a little stale. Obviously, I don't think he's on the hot seat, but you cannot fall backwards any further than what you're being at 500, because you're getting paid $5 million a year, $6 million a year. You're expected to continue the level of winning that you did when you got the contract extension. I think the 9-4 season warranted a contract extension, because I think that he deserved it after navigating a team that had been 7 and I don't know how many losses, like almost 30 in 3 seasons, and then navigating the 3 SEC wins in the first year, going 9-4 the second year. I think it was warranted that he got a pay bump, but you have to sustain what you've built, Porter.
Yeah.
And you cannot continue to go 6-6 or even fall back to 5-7. You've got to show progress. You've got to show it year after year after year. And you've got to stay hungry year after year after year, because successful coaches, they didn't just get complacent with 9-4 or 8-4 seasons every year. They wanted to achieve more and get more out of winning. They wanted to continue to be better. And I think that's what Sam Pittman has to learn is, okay, I don't want to feel 6-6 again. I don't want to be 500 again. I want to feel what I felt when I was 9-4. I want to feel that again. And you can't get complacent where you at. I don't think anything would ever happen to Sam if he's 6-6, but I think if he dips, I think that's what I'm going to answer here, is if he dips anymore, it could be trouble time for him.
Yeah, and 2 points.
Okay.
Is the fact that the way Hunter Yurchik let out his contract, I totally agree on. He deserved a raise, because $5 million, the SEC, and doing what he done and where Arkansas was at. Yes, he was warranted, because he done it 2 years in a row. 3-7, but playing a all SEC season and COVID, all that crap that we know they've dealt with.
Yeah,
and then going 9-4. This year, yes, bump in a row. But I'll tell you this, looking at next year's schedule, they start at Western Carolina, Kent State, BYU. Then they have LSU, Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama, Mississippi State, bye week off. The bye week's October 28th. Then they have Florida, Auburn, Florida International, and then Missouri.
Yeah.
So I want to go Florida International, BYU, Kent State, Western Carolina. There's 4 guaranteed wins that they should have. I'm saying 4 that they should have. And this is where we get into the tough part of playing in the SEC and not knowing. So now we know, God rest his soul. Again, our condolences to the family of Mike Leach, but you don't know who they're bringing in.
Yeah.
They're going to have a new coach. You play Florida at Florida, but you get Auburn, Florida International, and Missouri all in Fayetteville. But you got to go to Bama. You got to go to Ole Miss, and of course,
LSU.
darn it, you got to go to LSU.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's another reason where you really got to look at the schedule and where they're at on how you depict the season. So, no, I know this was a very long way to answer your question, Hart. But if they go 6-6 again, no, I won't be upset because of the fact of they're not coming off a 9-4 season. They're coming off a 6-6 season. The expectations are dropped. And we know what they're losing and what they got upcoming. You're playing in the SEC. So, therefore, I would love an 7-8 win season. But I'm saying 5 to 6 wins next year. Way too early, but I'm right there at 6-6, 5-7.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously you see those 4 wins, and I'm with you. Like after the first 3 games, I'll take an A&M win. I mean, it's going to be another tough one, but they play them tough at A&M or at Jerry's World every year. But that LSU game so early in the season, and it's definitely coming off of the season that Brian Kelly had. It's going to be tough, especially with the road games. All those home games that we had this year in Fayetteville, it flips. And it's going to be tough. Arkansas doesn't play an SEC home game until November 1st, if I remember correctly. I don't have it pulled up right now, but
What's that?
I don't think Arkansas plays an SEC game at home until November 1st, unless the Mississippi State. In Mississippi State early in the year,
October 21st is their first home game, SEC home game.
That's a long time. That's a long time.
Yeah. And that's the thing, you've got that daunted game in Arlington that really just screws things up. And 10, 11, 12 years later, you really don't. It's just like, okay, why do we got to keep playing? Then you go to Ole Miss. I mean, so it's like you got West Carolina, Kent State, BYU. You've got at LSU. Then you got to turn around and go at Arlington, which is supposed to be a home game because it says versus, but yet it's an away game. Then you go to Ole Miss. Then you go to Alabama. So you go from September 16th to October 21st, not playing in your stadium.
Yeah.
So if you want a reason why they should stop playing, other than money, screw the money, because what's money getting you if you're finishing 6-6?
Right.
If anything should tell you why they need to stop playing that game, hey, let's stop playing in Fayetteville from September 16th to October, over a month.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's an off week. So let's just really look at this. From September 16th to November 11th, they played 2 games in Fayetteville.
That's crazy. I like what Chuck Pendergrass says. Are we ever going to play Florida in Fayetteville? Seems like we play them in Florida every single year, LOL. Will from Natural State Sports, he texted me one time and he said, the Florida game in Gainesville in 2020 didn't count towards the regular SEC calendar. So this is actually the rotation. But it seems like it does. I mean, with the expansion in 2012, Arkansas had to play on the road against Florida that year. And then you didn't get a return trip until 2016. So it's been a while since Arkansas has been able to play them at home. And it seems like Arkansas plays them more in Gainesville than they ever played them in Fayetteville. I think they've only played them there in Fayetteville once or twice. I think 03 and 2016. And
I was actually there at the 03 game.
03.
That was the Bua.
That was the Bua hit. Yeah. That was the 03 team, the 08 team under Bobby Petrino's first year, and then 2016 you played them in Fayetteville in a thrashing 38-10. But man, it's going to be a long off season. I hate that we haven't been able to talk a little bit of basketball. Maybe we can talk about them next week when SEC play actually starts.
Yeah.
So
well, we give them their, that's the thing. We get on these rants. But it's just the fact that we want to tell it how it is. And here's the deal. Like 2023 is going to be a whole new deal with us.
Yeah.
And I'm committed to it. Jacob, I know you being a fan and being vetted, it's harder. I understand but here's the deal. Like, we got to realize that got to tell it how it is.
Oh yeah.
You have to. And that's what we're leaning. We're moving. I see the leaf turning on where our show's going and being more of tell it how it is type of show. I'm going to be that way.
Yeah.
And no matter what sport, and we're growing. We're doing 3 shows a week now. We got Neil Harper from the swim dive team coming on tomorrow. I don't know, Jacob, if you see my post about the swim cap I got, but
No.
I'm going to be wearing it tomorrow night on the show. Neil Harper's a really cool dude. Can't wait to chop it up with him tomorrow night. But no, we're going to really tell it how it is, because you know what? I've sat there and went against the fans, and this is not like I'm giving in to the fans, but it's like you try to not let everybody see what's behind the curtain, but it gets to the point where like, all right, this is what's going on, and with the basketball team and how things are rolling, but it's just the fact that we've went on an hour and 10 minutes now because of the frustrations and the expectations. But when we dig down deep into what's going on at the University of Arkansas, the football team is the bread and butter of the university.
Oh yeah, it is.
And when things aren't rolling, everybody's like, well, this excuse and that excuse. So the excuses are done. So 2023, moving on, we will definitely won't be on next week because, of course, Christmas. Again, let's end it with this, because we went down the rabbit hole too much. Again, tomorrow night we're going to have, Neil Harder from the swim dive team on the weekly women's sports report. Next Sunday we will not have a show because of Christmas. We wish everybody a Merry Christmas. We want to thank all of our fans and our listeners who have made the podcast what it is, where it's at today, 4 years running. There was a little ranking going out, top 15, podcasts. We come in at number 8, but, you look at how many's connected to a radio station or, media, legit media. We're not affiliated with anybody. We don't have those resources to be on a radio show, and not knocking any of those guys. John Neighbors, who's number 1, dude, come from the student section, went to ESPN Arkansas. Now he's with the Buzz, where we're at. Nothing but love and praising him because he's worked his ass off to get where he's at. But we take pride in where we're at, where we've come from, and where we're at now. So no show next Sunday. We will have a women's show next Monday. I'm going to try to have somebody come on next Monday for the women's show, I think from the gymnastics team. But for that, Porter Hayes, Jacob, you got anything else to add to that? Merry Christmas or anything into the year?
Merry Christmas and go Hogs.
All right. Well, hey, that will do it for another episode of the Hawg Talk podcast presented by Arkansas Brewing Company in Ozark, Arkansas, and Bet Online, the fastest and easiest way to get your sports betting on. And we will catch you in the new year. Merry Christmas and have a happy new year.